Come see us live on tour. We'll be in Los Angeles, Dallas, Texas, Austin, Baltimore, Hartford, Syracuse, Atlantic City, Cohoes, New York, and Providence, Rhode Island. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets. As I predicted, Trump stopped this genocide in Palestine, and I said, but there's probably going to be a couple of things he does that we hate that go along with that. So, and for Trump stopping the literal slaughter of those people, what I said that he's probably going to try to move some of them to another country, and he's probably going to give the West Bank to Israel, or one of those things, or both those things. And it turns out he's probably going to do both those things. So here he is. He's talking about how Gaza is completely wiped out, which it is. So the plan always was. Let's listen to Trump, and then I'll tell you what the plan always was.
Looking at the whole Gaza Strip right now, and it's a mess. It's a real mess.
So you'd like Jordan to house people from
I'd
Gaza?
like him to take people. I'd like Egypt to take people. I'm talking to General El-Sisi tomorrow sometime.
So he's saying I'd like Egypt to take some of the Palestinians because Gaza's wiped out, which it is.
And I'd like Egypt to take people, and I'd like Jordan to take people.
So Egypt and Jordan. He wants Egypt. So he wants to ship the Palestinians from their homeland instead of building houses again in Gaza and building their communities back up. He wants to ship them to Jordan and Egypt and build them houses there.
Yeah. Well, you know what the only argument was always going to be? Are they going to go there, or are they going to be brought to Europe and America? That was what they were always going to let them slaughter all the people and take them out for the greater Israel. But what was the fight going to be at the end? Are they coming here, or are they going to go to Egypt and Jordan? That's what the real fight has been.
I mean, you're talking about probably 1.5 million people.
He's talking about 1.5 million people.
We just clean out that
and we clean out that whole thing.
Over the centuries, that's many, many conflicts that site. And I don't know, it's something has to happen, but it's literally a demolition site right now. Almost everything's demolished.
Yeah, he says it's literally a demolition site, meaning Gaza. Almost everything's demolished.
And people are dying there, so I'd rather get involved with some of the Arab nations and build housing in a different location.
So he said, let's get involved with other Arab nations and build housing in a different location. Why not just build housing there in Gaza? Because that was the plan all along. So the reason why Benjamin Netanyahu and the Likud party in Israel funded Hamas was so that Hamas would do a terrorist attack, and then they could use that because they knew that attack was coming. They funded it. They were warned a year ahead of time. They had the plans for it. Egypt, 7 days ahead of time, told them this was going to happen. Gaza is the most surveilled place in the world. Mossad knows exactly what they're doing. They let it happen so that they
told
could
them to have a rave next to it.
So that they told them to have a rave next. So they let it happen so they could use that as an excuse to flatten the whole of Gaza. So there would be nothing for those people to move back to. And so then someone like Trump could come in and say, hey, let's move them out. Let's move them to Jordan. Let's move them to... That was always the plan, so that Israel could take over Gaza and the West Bank. And now they're taking over parts of Lebanon and Syria. And believe me, parts of Egypt are on their plans too. It's called Greater Israel. Look it up. And if you think that's where Israel's going to stop, they're not. They're not just going to stop at Gaza. They're not going to stop at the West Bank. They're not going to stop at...
Where does the river and sea, where did that end?
They're not going to just... That's right. They're not going to stop at just a little part of... It's like, you know what? I don't know if you've ever lived with a woman and she says, I'm just going to take this little part of your toilet, the little part of your sink in your bathroom. I'm just going to take a little bit of part of your vanity. Just this little part of be mine. It's like that, except add genocide. So this is what. So just as I predict,
you have to move to Jordan after she's done.
So then you got to move to Jordan after she's moved in. So just like I told you, it's amazing. A dumb guy like me could be as on it as I have. I said Trump will come in and force a deal on Israel, which he did. He stopped the slaughter. But now here's that bad side of that deal. The bad side of that deal is he wants to move the Palestinians off their homeland, which they don't want to do. So Hey, Donald, I said, why don't you move them to New York? New York's about to be minus a lot of Venezuelan immigrants, according, and they're going to need cheap labor. You have all the infrastructure to bring as many immigrants here as you want, or kick out as many. So, does he have more to say?
They can maybe live in peace.
Temporarily, or would they
It could be either. It could be temporarily. Could be long term.
So could be temporary, could be long term. So of course it's long term. So he wants to move. So that's what $100 million from Miriam Adelson gets you. That's what your subservient to AIPAC gets you. Believe me, the crazy Zionists are cheering this. This is what they've wanted all along. They wanted to move 1.5 million Palestinians out of Gaza, out of the West Bank, so they could take it over because they look at it as their land. And this is what Gaza looks like today. You can turn it down. This is what Gaza looks like today. So
look at those surgical strikes, Jimmy.
So that was always the plan. The plan was always to do this to Gaza so that they would have nowhere to move back to, and then Trump could come in and say, you got to go there, you got to go here. So that's what's happening. And Trump says Jordan and Egypt should take Palestinians. Egypt and Jordan say no.
Yeah.
There's already a bunch of Palestinians in Jordan. Can you look up how many? They all
don't like each other like that.
Can you look up how many Palestinians are in Jordan stuff?
It really is like the arrogance of like Western places. Oh, they're Arabs. These are different countries that all have their own gripes with each other. Like it's not just like you go put them somewhere.
Yeah, so it's not like they all just come together, the Arab countries.
I mean, they might now after this, ethnic cleansing happened. That might be a problem in the future. People tend to, hold on to that for a while.
So this dispels the notion that all Islamic nations unify automatically as one.
Guess who was telling us that? Guess who was giving us that info?
The Zionists?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, do you know, Muslim in Islam, they think it's okay to commit rape. Oh, do they? Didn't you protest on behalf of IDF prison guards to be allowed to rape their prisoners? Their young male prisoners, you psychopaths? So the
Islamic nations do not automatically unify as one. They have all their own. It'd be easier to unionize comedians.
Yeah, I was there at the meetings.
Yeah,
we did a coalition.
U.S. President Donald Trump said Jordan and Egypt should take more Palestinians from Gaza, but the Jordan foreign minister rebuffed him. Asked if this was a temporary or long, we heard him say it could be either. Israel's finance minister, Bezalel Smotrich, who has repeatedly called for the return of Jewish settlers to Gaza, welcomed Trump's call as an excellent idea and said he would work to develop a plan to implement it. A plan, you mean to export the Palestinians from Palestine? You mean that kind of a plan? Yeah. That's right.
Do you know that Mossad and IDF have a huge friction with each other? There's like two factions, and one was a little more on the Democrat and the other was a more Republican one.
Say it again, Kurt.
IDF and Mossad are like kind of against each other. There's like a huge factional thing within Israel.
How many Palestinians are? So there are 2.39 million Palestinians in Jordan. So somewhere between 2 and 3 million Palestinians are already in Jordan. So you know how people used to say this about you? They go, "Oh, no other country would even take the Jews." Well, now the Zionists say nobody wanted to take the Palestinians. They say stuff like that when there's probably 3 million Palestinians in Jordan.
I hope the irony is not lost on them. Well, I think it is.
Yes. So I just love that guy's name is Bezalel. Should we call him Abraham? Should we call him David? No, we'll call him Bezalel, the inventor of the bedazzler. But Hamas official reacted with suspicion, echoing long-standing Palestinian fears about being driven permanently from their homes. Palestinians will not accept any offers or solutions, even if such offers appear to have good intentions under the guise of reconstruction, as announced in the proposal of U.S. President Trump, who said that Bassem Naim, a member of the Hamas political bureau. He told that to Reuters.
So what do you think happens then? There's more bloodshed, and then what? Israel gets us in a war with Iran, because that's where I see it going.
So I mean, I don't know why Hamas is suspicious just because they're dealing with Israel, an opponent who breaks every single treaty, every single time, all through history. Do you really believe? Don't you believe in giving someone their 2000th chance?
Well, I mean, hey, Hamas, Israel, Netanyahu's money was good, wasn't it?
Yeah. Another Hamas official, Samu Abu Zuri, he urged Trump not to repeat failed ideas tried by his predecessor, Joe Biden. The people of Gaza have endured death and refused to leave their homeland, and they will not leave it regardless of any other reasons. Jordan also appears to reject Trump's suggestion, with its foreign minister telling reporters that the country's stance against any displacement of Palestinians from Gaza remains firm and unwavering. Egypt has yet to comment, but they have commented. So this article is a little out of date. They have commented. They're not for it. Egypt is against it.
Once Trump cut that deal with MBS and the Saudis, I mean, here's what I'm curious. Like, he did something with the Saudis just now where they're increasing gas production. You saw that?
Yeah.
So who are like the heavyweight? Like, is Jordan the heavyweight there? I thought they're not. Or am I wrong about that?
No, I don't think they are. Palestinian analysts said Palestinians in the occupied West Bank and Gaza, as well as Jordanians and Egyptians, would reject Trump's plan. I don't think that there's a place in reality for such an idea. Rights groups and humanitarian agencies have for months raised concerns over the situation in Gaza, with the war displacing nearly the entire population and leading to a hunger crisis. Smotrich, who said only out-of-the-box thinking could achieve peace, said Trump's plan would give Palestinians the opportunity to build new and better lives elsewhere. So again, this was always the plan. This is why they allowed Hamas to attack. A bunch of guys in Adidas sweatpants and hang gliders. A plan they knew about a year ahead of time. In a post on Twitter, Francesca Albanese, the UN Special Rapporteur on Human Rights in the occupied Palestine territory, said ethnic cleansing is anything but an out-of-the-box thinking. No matter how one packages it, it's illegal, immoral, and irresponsible.
What is that?
I don't think that's her specialty, though, out-of-the-box. Your favorite thing is putting people inside the box and then putting that box in the ground. Most of Gaza's million population, which was 2.3 million before the war, have been internally displaced by the war. On Sunday, many of those rejected Trump's suggestion. Here's David. This guy, he says, what did I tell you? Ethnically cleanse Gaza so it could become part of the greater Israel and demolish the Al-Aqsa Mosque for the rebuilt Third Solomon's Temple as you allow Israel to annex the West Bank, as per the deal with super Zionist Miriam Adelson for her $100 million. If you know what the real agenda is, which the hijacked alternative in MAGA does not, Trump and his Israel-owned mob can be read like an open book. See what's the ceasefire really about. See why October 7th was allowed to happen. So that's what I predicted.
The same reason 9/11 was allowed to happen.
That's the same reason. So I'm glad to see David and I are on the same page. I said this as soon as the ceasefire was announced. First, I said he would announce one. He would impose a ceasefire. Then I said there's going to be some negative consequences to this. And that he's going to send the Palestinians to another country. And he's going to give, I said the West Bank, he'll give it to them. He's going to give them the whole thing.
I want to hear what Bill Maher says when they build the whack job Solomon Temple, because Bill Maher looks down on that, right? Grow up, everyone, and we're going to have World War III. That's Bill Maher. There's nothing to say about that?
So here is Trump's nephew, son-in-law. What's his name?
Jared Kushner.
Jared Kushner. And watch this.
The Kushner family, like the Trump family, are in the real estate business. And the Kushners have been doing business in Israel for years. Earlier this year, Jared spoke of Gaza's valuable waterfront property.
There are real fears on the part of Arabs, and I'm sure you talk to a lot of them, who think once Gazans leave Gaza, Netanyahu's never going to let them back in.
Maybe, but I'm not sure there's much left of Gaza at this point. So
yeah, but there's not much left. So it just makes sense. Yeah, that's why they did that. That's why they flattened Gaza.
Hey,
so you
let
can, so
everyone
you
get
can,
away with 9/11, didn't you?
So you-
Everybody let them get away with 9/11, and we went to killed the wrong people, right? Went to Iraq, had nothing to do with it. Why wouldn't they get away with this? Why wouldn't they?
Why wouldn't they?
You know, if you think about even the construct, like, you know, Gaza was not really a historical precedent, right? It was the result of a war. You know, borders are changed historically over time. And so my sense is I would say, how do we deal with the terror threat that is there so that it cannot be a threat to Israel or to Egypt, right? I think that both sides are spending a fortune on military. I think neither side really wants to have, you know, a terrorist organization enclaved right between them. And Gaza's waterfront property, it could be very valuable. It's a little bit of an unfortunate situation there, but I think from Israel's perspective, I would do my best to move the people out and then clean it up. I think proactively recognizing a Palestinian state would essentially be rewarding an act of terror that was perpetrated into Israel. So it's a super bad idea in that regard.
Creating Israel was an act of terror. Look up the Nakba.
Dresden? Hey, what about Dresden, John?
Yeah.
Remember, that was a deliberate act of killing civilians. Stated goal to break their spirit. That's what Dresden was.
So this is Trump's son-in-law, who months ago told you what the plan was all along. The plan was to clear them out of Palestine, make it so inhabitable. You go, well, there's nothing there anyway. So it just makes sense we got to move them somewhere else. So, which has been Bibi's plan and the Zionist plan all along.
Everybody wins.
Yeah, it's a win-win.
Yeah.
So that's been the plan all along.
And now, Jimmy, we can forget about this and move on to war with China. Now we can fight a war with China.
Now we go fight a war with China. Here, Mac, good politic guy, says, would love for people who have been denying the Gaza genocide to explain how Trump calling for the entire population to be fully ethnically cleansed fits into the self-defense narrative. Doesn't. Justin, Egypt rejects any relocation or transfer of Palestinians to its country. So, of course, we demand that they migrate to two countries that don't want them. Cairo's foreign ministry, in a statement, expressed Egypt's continued support for the steadfastness of the Palestinian people and their land. It rejected any infringement on those inalienable rights, whether by settlement or annexation of land, or by the depopulation of the land of its people through displacement, discord. So they're against it. Syrian girl says, does Trump realize that openly saying that he wants to displace Palestinians into Egypt and Jordan is incitement to genocide, ethnic cleansing? He could face prosecution by the ICC for following Jared Kushner down this path. Yeah,
no, he couldn't.
But,
what?
Okay, I hate to break it to you, but facing prosecution from the ICC is less than a parking ticket.
Yeah, we also have a law called the Hague Invasion Act that says if the ICC ever dared to do something like that we will just invade them.
Yeah, we'll invade them. Aaron Mate says, so Tommy Vietor, the moron from the Pod Save America, says two things can be true. Biden's Gaza policy was a disaster and made people feel like it was impossible to vote for him. And two, voting for Trump in protest was a catastrophic mistake.
Oh, was it? Because why? We're not going to have them move here?
Right. So Aaron Mate says, one thing is true. It was Biden, not Trump, that partnered with Israel to destroy Gaza and make it unlivable. Israel's open intent was to force ethnic cleansing, the Nakba 2.0, which is why Blinken even lobbied Egypt and Jordan to absorb Palestinian refugees, as Trump is doing now. So Trump is now picking up where his predecessor left off. His policy should be challenged without partisan hackery. On Israel-Palestine, D.C. is a uniparty. The only catastrophic mistake was Kamala Harris's insistence on being pro-genocide.
She lost the Muslims and the Jews. How do you do that? Both of them.
Kim Iverson says neighboring nations know it doesn't end with Palestine. Israel will use the same tactics and excuse to take Egypt, Sinai Peninsula, territory from Jordan and Lebanon, and even more from Syria. Of course.
Well, Turkey gets the rest.
But don't worry, because so here is, remember this, a historic day. Over 1 million Palestinians, 1 million, returned to northern Gaza after the destruction of their homes and the failure of Israel's attempts to force displacement. You want to see them? Here it is. Here it is. 1 million of them. But don't worry, because BlackRock is going to be there to sell them their land again and build them a home of their dreams. That it's because it's their only dream.
That's optimistic.
Yeah, it is. And so if this is okay with you, it's because you're also evil. But it's okay in America. You can be evil in America as long as you have over 10.
What? First of all, this is America. Yeah. Our national bird should be gay blackmail, number one.
So there you go. So just as predicted, Trump is doing two horrible things in place of one good thing. He did stop the slaughter. So that's an overwhelming positive. But now he's going to... So it's going to be harder.
Well, guess what?
But
try telling most people to give a rat fuck about this. Try doing that.
Yeah, I know.
So
I think the Palestinians are screwed.
Yeah, and guess who else figured that out? Trump.
Yeah,
they're screwed. You got to put up someone else. They're going to kill them all. Too bad. You got to take them. That's what it is always going to be. The argument was going to be: is Europe and America going to take them?
Yeah,
or are the Arab countries? Israel is always going to take their shit.
It was always.
There's no candidate that was going to be the hey, cut it out, Israel.
Always.
Not a single one.
This was the plan. It was obvious. The plan wasn't we got to bomb their tunnels and we got no, their plan was to completely flatten Gaza. And they did it.
Hey, here's a bigger plan.
And now it's unlivable. So what are you going to do? You got to send them somewhere.
I mean, what am I supposed to do? Toss on the pile of they purposely made a virus so they could lock us down and put stupid rules on us? That's where we're at now. People are going to be like moron flag wavers their whole life, or they're not. You're going to have to figure it out, or you're not. I don't know what you can do to make people see it. Like, you got to walk through the 5 stages of grief with each person.
Yeah,
personally.
No kidding. Hey, if you're watching this show, chances are you already know the mainstream media is full of crap. They're not here to inform you. They're here to spin stories, cater to corporate overlords, and protect the establishment at all costs. So just take a look at how they covered or didn't cover leaked photos linking Joe Biden to Hunter Biden's Chinese business partners. I ran this story through Ground News, who found nearly 100 sources reporting on it, and coverage is totally lopsided. Independent right-wing outlets are all over this, calling it what it is, proof Biden's been lying. Meanwhile, everyone else is just regurgitating CNN talking points, downplaying it like it's no big deal. Ground News even lets me see how many other publications have reposted the story from CNN. Let me ask you this. If the media is bending over backwards to protect Biden's image, even on his way out, how can we trust them to cover anything fairly? Well, the answer is you can't. The only way for us to cut through this media bias is to objectively compare how the same story is being reported across other media outlets. That's why I can't recommend my partners at Ground News enough. They're the only platform not telling you what to think. They show you every angle of every news story, whether it's from corporate media, independent outlets, or voices the establishment doesn't want you to hear. They expose who's funding each perspective and if they've got a political bias. They've even have a blind spot feed to expose what the other side of the political spectrum isn't reporting on, freeing readers of any hidden agendas and political spins. And if you want to cut through the BS of mainstream media, you can save 40% today off their top-tier Advantage plan by going to ground.news/JD or scanning my QR code. If you like the show, I think you'll love that platform. Come see us live on tour. We'll be in Los Angeles, Dallas, Texas, Austin, Baltimore, Hartford, Syracuse, Atlantic City, Cohoes, New York, and Providence, Rhode Island. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets.
you.